Hi, this is Ken Quinn, Regional Director with U.S. Term Limits. Did James Madison really tremble at the thought of an Article 5 convention being called? Well, if you were to listen to the fearmongers out there, that is what they would have you believe. The quote, which I will share in a moment, comes from a letter Madison wrote to George Tuberville dated November 2nd, 1788. Madison was responding to a question he asked him, quote, "You wish to know my sentiments on the project of another general convention as suggested by New York," unquote. First, let me provide a little historical background. The Constitution had been in place for only 4 months, and it would be another 4 months before the new government would begin. None of the states had even elected their senators or representatives for Congress at this point. The battle for ratification between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists was intense in several of the states, and there was still strong Anti-Federalist sentiment in New York. The delegates to the New York Convention submitted 33 amendments along with their ratification that would have changed most of the Constitution's articles. The governor of New York sent a circular letter to all the other governors asking them to support the calling of another convention to completely revise the Constitution. This is what Madison is addressing in his letter. Madison expressed that he wished that the Constitution was amended before it was even adopted in the Philadelphia Convention, but at this point in time, he believed that the government should first become operational in order to have the light of experiment before introducing any amendments. He believed that even good amendments would not be proposed simply because not enough states would agree to holding a convention, and that the most efficient way to propose amendments would be in Congress. What is most interesting in the letter is that he describes the two types of conventions: a convention to adopt a new constitution and an Article 5 convention to propose amendments. Quote, "A convention cannot be called without the unanimous consent of the parties who are to be bound by it, if first principles are to be recurred to, or without the previous application of 2/3 of the state legislatures if the forms of the Constitution are to be pursued," unquote. Since a new constitution would be a new compact addressing first principles, which is what New York was seeking, it would require unanimous consent to call, whereas if 2/3 of the states concurred in amendments, an Article 5 convention could be called. Madison knew that neither of these were attainable at that time. He further stated that if a convention to adopt another constitution was called, it would claim to have more power than the Congress, creating confusion, and that is why he said, quote, "Having witnessed the difficulties and dangers experienced by the first convention, which assembled under every propitious circumstance, meaning favorable, I should tremble for the result of a second, meeting in the present temper of America, and under all the disadvantages I have mentioned," unquote. Obviously, to any honest reader, Madison opposed a convention to adopt another constitution because of the many problems it would create. He also knew that the simplest and quickest way to propose amendments at that time was through Congress and not trying to get 2/3 of the states to apply for an Article 5 convention. Madison proved this point by introducing amendments in that very first Congress, which became part of the Constitution known as the Bill of Rights. Madison was a strong proponent for the Article 5 convention process, advocating for it in the Federalist Papers and throughout the rest of his life. Keep on rocking in the free